Hello everybody, I hope you are doing amazing. Today I would like to share with you a new little romance series. It's called a Maple Falls romance series. Very long title. Anyway, and there are 4 books and I have just finished the last book, like last night. And the first thing I told myself when I finished it was I need to make a video because more and more people need to read these books. These books are just so nice to read. They're such a comfort read. Yeah. So let's go grab a drink, go grab a snack. We may be here for a while. I have no idea how much I'm going to yap about these books. So we'll be back with a drink. This is my drink of choice. I hope you have yours. So we've established what the name is. Okay. Now there's 4 books. It is a complete series. Okay. So I think I'm going to first explain the whole like town and everything that is involved in this storyline, and then I'll go and explain each and individual book. Okay, so in the front of every book there is like a little map of the town. The town is called Maple Falls, if you have not noticed. Okay, so within the small town it was a very up and running town back in the day. But obviously, as time went on, things changed and bigger towns were made with malls and shopping centers and things. So nobody really comes to this town anymore. And a lot of people have like left the town to obviously go to a bigger town or the city or whatever the case may be. Okay, so now in the small town, we have some main characters that we will be coming across a lot of times. So we have Irma / Mimi, who is a grandmother in the first book, and she is part of this old ladies woman like little club group, her friends and whatever, and they're called the Bosom Buddies or Bodies, something like that, and everything. And she owns a shop which is called Knots and Tangles, which is like an embroidery, crochet, knitting shop. Yeah, so that's her. Then we have 3 other ladies and everything. So we kind of follow them because they are also are like the gossipers of the town and things like that. Anywho, this also has no swearing and no smut, no mention of smut or anything like that at all in these books. So they are super duper clean. They say that they're Christian, however, the only Christian part of this is that they go to church. That's like the only Christian part of it. Anywho, and what else is there to say? The vibes of these books are also like Gilmore Girls. I see a lot of Gilmore Girls in this. So the first book is called Hooked on You. This follows Riley and Hayden, and Riley had kind of like a tough childhood. Her mom was like a druggie and stuff, so they moved around a lot, and then eventually her granny, which is Irma / Mimi, she calls her granny Mimi, everyone else calls her Irma, tells her no, like you can't be dragging around your child and everything. I'm going to look after Riley and I'll raise Riley. So at 13 years old, she moves to Maple Falls to live with her grandmother and everything, and she goes to school there, she goes to high school there. She studies, I think, for a year or 2 over there. She studies art. And then afterwards, she flees to New York to go and pursue her dream of art. And it completely smacks her in the face because she hasn't sold much and she can barely pay her rent and all of this stuff. Then her gran asks her if she can come back home and help her run her shop because Irma / Mimi has broken her leg, so she can't really run the shop with a broken leg. So she's asked if she can please come back to the small town until she's healed and run knots and tangles for her. So, pause. Okay. Then we have Hayden Price. Hayden Price also went to school. He was very popular, very athletic. His dad owns a hardware store in the small town called Price's Hardware Store. He went to go and pursue his long life dream of being a baseball player. And when he pitched wrong and he tore something in his shoulder or something like that, and he suffered an injury and he couldn't play anymore. So as quick as his career took off, it also came to a halt. Anyway, so now he's moved back to Maple Falls and he's helping his dad run the hardware shop. So that's pretty much what this book is about. I don't want to go into a lot of detail and spoil the rest of the book. This all happens within the first chapter, what I've just said. So I don't want to spoil the rest, but yes. So we have two people who thought they had it and now they've come back. Also, they thought they didn't know each other in high school, but she had a crush on him during high school, but she was very quiet and introverted and she never spoke to him. And now that she's back in town, he finds her extremely fascinating and interesting, which is quite nice. And then they also come with a lot of ambition to try and also fix up this town and make the town more likable and try to get more visitors and everything to come to this town like it was back in the day. So that is their goal and everything. So I loved this book. It wasn't my favorite, but it definitely set the tone for the following books. And I loved what it says here at the bottom. It says, "Welcome to Maple Falls, where everybody knows your name and your business." Small town vibes, am I right? Anyways, I don't think you get different covers. I think these are just like the standard covers, but yes. Also, if I have not mentioned, I don't think I have, but it's by Kathleen Fuller, the series, but yes. Okay, so that's the first book. Then the second book takes place a year later. Okay, so that's also the nice thing about the series, is that nothing really intertwines and you don't have to like pick up what's going on with other people and everything, because they all are a year apart from the previous book. So that's nice. So this one is called Much Ado About a Latte. This was my absolute favorite one out of the whole series. Definitely my favorite one. 5 stars for this one. The rest are all 4 stars, but this one is 5 stars. Okay, so this one, so now the rest of the books follow 3 girls. They were friends, well, they are friends, and when Riley, the first girl, comes back to Maple Falls, they include her into their friend group. So I guess if you want to look at it as a whole, it's about 4 girls and their love interests. Okay, so the second book, Much Ado About a Latte. This one is so nice. So this one follows Antina and Tanner, and they both work at the diner, the Sunshine Diner in the small town. He's like head chef and she's the waitress, and they both have a goal and an idea of what they want, but they don't tell anybody which is so aggravating at the same time, and I'll tell you now why. They kind of like each other, but they don't want to act on it. So I would also say all of these books are like slow burns. Like they only rarely get together in like maybe the last 50 to 30 pages. Yeah, okay. Then he wants to buy the diner, and the building next door, because obviously the small town is falling apart and whatever, so there's a lot of like empty buildings that need to be bought or whatever, and she buys the building next door, and she wants to open a cafe, and he's just bought the diner, and now they're next to each other, but now they know that they like each other, but now they don't tell each other that I've bought the diner and I'm opening a cafe right next door to the diner. So that gets a little bit interesting to read this, because they don't know but you know, and you're like, how is this going to go down? Anyways, I just loved it so much. He is also a very acts of service kind of guy, which I really liked and appreciated, because he also started up like a little catering business and everything. So we see him doing that. And then we also see how she comes from a very high-end family, and her mom, I'm not too sure what her mom does, but her dad was also like a doctor or something. And she has an older sister and an older brother. The older brother is the last book's love interest. Okay, so that's them. And Tanner is Hayden from the first book's best friend. Okay, I will try to do like a diagram thingy at the end of this so that you can see how it like all interlinks. Okay, the third book is Soul on Love. This was also quite a nice book. This was definitely like an opposites attract book for sure. But it was just so nice and wholesome. So this one follows Harper and Rusty. And Harper, she's a very like high-end real estate agent, and she dresses very formally and in heels and the whole tutti, and her hair is always done and her makeup's always on, and she dresses in dresses and skirts and heels and the whole shebang and everything, and she's a real estate agent, and he is the town's local mechanic. Yes, so like what on earth could they have in common, right? But it was very, very nice, this book, because he took her outside of her comfort zone where she couldn't wear heels and skirts and things like this, and I just love that so much, because he made not only her realize that she doesn't need to go to all that effort in order to be attractive, but he also, I think, made her begin to love herself as she is, like without the makeup, without the fashion, without all of that. So I really did enjoy that part of it. The only thing that irritated me in this is that her ex-boyfriend decides to come back, and her, I want to say like her ex-best friend or whatever, also irritated me so much in this book, because that was so unnecessary. Like, I do not understand why that. Obviously it was to create drama and suspense, but I did not appreciate that at all, because Rusty also, he's like the mechanic, so he's taken over his grandpa's shop, because his mom and his dad passed away, I think. So he took over his grandpa's shop, and he has a sister who's just had like a baby and everything. So the grandpa moved to that town to go and like spend time with like his grandchild and all of that. And now the grandpa comes back, and the grandpa also tries to play like matchmaker over here with Rusty, Shame, which is so cute. Which yeah, I just really like this book as well. And also she's like a proper workaholic. Like, she cannot even go for like a cup of coffee without having a phone calls, emails, all of this stuff. She's a proper workaholic. Okay, the last book is called Two to Tango, and this one follows Olivia and Kingston. So Olivia is obviously the last girl in the friend group, and Kingston is Antina from the second book, so older brother. Okay, so this one kind of aggravates me on a whole new level, just because we go back in time like twice to see what happened between them, and he just, I don't know, he's just not my cup of tea. Like, all three men here, I'm like, yes, like these are men, this is a child, these are men, this is a child. And I just could not really like him. And as the book went on, he tried to explain himself, and he was like, I'm really sorry, but, and I'm like, sorry is not going to fix things, you know. Anyway, so she's a very organized, OCD, like very schedule person. Like every Monday she has this routine, every Tuesday this routine, she has to be home every day by this time, she has to have breakfast at this time. So she's very like that, okay. And she also just studies for the sake of studying stuff, and she runs the library, the local library. And then Kingston, his family doesn't live in this small town because they're very wealthy and rich. So he doesn't live in the small town, but he obviously comes to the small town for his sister Antina and all of that. And he is a pediatrician, so he treats children and whatever, and he's a doctor, and he goes to clinics and hospitals and all these different things. And his work literally rules his life. And then he gets called by his boss and says, no, like, you need to stop whatever you're doing. You are going on a 2-month sabbatical because you are out of control and you're making a lot of our patients very unhappy, and we can't have unhappy patients in a hospital and stuff like this. So you are not allowed to treat people, come into the hospital, nothing like that, for 2 months. So now he's like, what am I meant to do with my life for 2 months? So he goes to his family and everything, and then the mom's like, why don't you go to these dancing lessons? Because now one of the old ladies has also decided to open up a like dance school. So I always think of like Miss Patty from Gilmore Girls, because like I said, these books give off really Gilmore Girl vibes. Yeah, anyway, and then he's like, fine, I'll be your dance partner, because the dad was busy. So the mom asked Kingston, can you please be my dance partner for these lessons? And he was like, sure. So the next day, every Monday from whatever time to whatever time is the dance lessons. And he goes with his mom, and he's like, oh, where is it? And she's like, in Maple Falls, obviously. And he's like, in Maple Falls? You mean like where Olivia is? You mean the person that I have upset twice? And I'm like, yes, that very one. Anyway, so he knows what he's done. He knows what he's done, and he's just decided to not act on it. And that is probably why he irritates me so much. Anyway, so then she's decided to just be ambitious and sign up for these dance lessons as well. So they both go to these dance lessons, they bump into each other. He tries to talk to her, and she's like, no, I am not going through this again. No. After her being like, no, I am not doing this again, he's like, you know what, next week I'm definitely going to make an effort to speak to her. And this is also how I know that I am about to marry the right person. Because when I told my fiance that he was like, okay, well, next week I'm going to make such an effort to talk to her. He was like, why is he waiting till next week? Like, why not the next day? So at least I know I'm marrying the right person, because I was like, yeah, like you're on 2 months sabbatical. You have 2 months and you still just like pushing it aside. It just irritates me so much. Anyway, and then she's like, oh, like he's like so handsome. Like I forgot how beautiful he is. And anyway, so then that's their story. And I'm not trying to sound ugly, but like, he could have been better. He could have been better. No, he just, no. Okay. So, let me do this dialogue real quickly. Okay. So, we have Riley and Tina, Harper, and Olivia. 4 girlfriends. Okay. Then we have Hayden, which is Riley's partner. We have Tanner, which is Tina's partner. Hayden and Tanner are best friends. Okay. Then we have Rusty. And then we have Kingston. Kingston is Tina's older brother. Okay. So that's like the small town and everything. And I also just loved to see the romance of the other couples follow through onto the other books, because they're all like exactly a year apart from each other. So like how this one ends, this one starts a year later. How this one ends, this one starts a year later. How this one ends, this one starts a year later. So I just loved that as well, because I think that was really nice. All these books are also around 300 pages. The first one is exactly 300 pages. And then the others are like between 300 and 330 pages, which is quite nice as well. They're not too long, not too short. They were perfect. They also are slow burners, which are quite nice because so much happens and there's a lot of like team building and team working and all of this stuff. But my favorite by far is definitely Much Ado About a Latte, and then my second one would probably be Soul in Love. So my favorites are the middle 2 books. The first one was okay, like I like it, but it just didn't hit like these ones did. I still like Riley and Hayden, like they are still such an amazing couple. I love Irma, I love their ambition, and I love how they healed each other and things like that. I love that. But these two were just something else. This one, I don't know. Like, I just didn't vibe with it. Maybe you will. Maybe that's just a preference thing. But I did not vibe with it. So, anyways, this is the books. So, the order, again, is Hooked on You, Much Ado About a Latte, Sold on Love, and Two to Tango by Kathleen Fuller. So, if you have not read these, I would highly recommend them. They're very cute. They're very fluffy. I flew past all of these books. I think all 4 took me 2 weeks. I think I read 2 a week. Yeah. So that was really, really nice. I did enjoy them. They're very cute. They're very nice. Like, you don't need to really think about much. They're in third person, but with different perspectives, if that makes sense. Because you'll get like the female and the male main character's point of view, and then usually one of their parents, whatever. So like the first one was Hayden and Riley's point of view, as well as Irma / Mimi's point of view. And then this one was Tanner's mom and her mom, I think, as well. And then Tanner and then Tina, and so on and so forth. But they are in third person. But to me, honestly, if you don't like third person by now as an adult, that's pretty sad. I don't know. I don't mind third person. But yes. Anyway, so these are the books. Please go and read them if you haven't already. And let me know what you think about them. Okay. See you in the next video. Bye. you.